what are you voting for? They call us dogs. They call us enemies in the house. So does that mean you are a dog? So does that mean you are an enemy in the house? If not, then what are you voting for? We are Southern Cameroonians. Elections are for citizens of La République du Cameroon. Will your vote bring back Grandma Happy? Will your vote bring back baby and Dale? Will your vote bring back baby Martha? Will your vote bring back the children in Cameroon? Will your vote bring back the children of St. Francis?
Hey family, if you like my video, don't forget to like, share and drop a comment. Your support means everything. Make sure to subscribe and follow so you never miss new updates, and hit that notification bell right down there to stay connected. Okay, let's grow this community together. Your one click makes a difference. Don't forget, make sure you hit share, drop a comment, follow and subscribe. Thank you. Hey family, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're going to be talking on why the United Nations has been silent along the years. We have seen some effort from the United Nations trying to put some effort along the years, but the silence has been more of encouraging like probably to Cameroon to continue their mayhem on the people of Southern Cameroon. So despite the years of this conflict and displacement and the human rights abuses by the Cameroon military in Cameroon, the Cameroon military in Southern Cameroon, the international community, particularly the United Nations and the African Union, has been silent, okay, and they remain largely passive. So we are asking, why is the silence? Why is this neglect? For the past years, many observers and have stated, many activists, observers have stated that why is it that the United Nations pay very little attention to the Southern Cameroon Ambazonian crisis going on. So we want to get into that and see how we can talk about that, because for many years we are seeing that the question why there has been no decisive intervention has always come up, and we are asking why like peacekeepers, the peacekeeping mission or serious diplomatic pressure is not put on Cameroon. Okay, one major reason is that we understand Cameroon has France on their side, and Cameroon remain a sovereign state. Okay, and under international law, intervention without the government's consent is limited, as we know. Okay, but this is something that is not about Cameroon's sovereignty. It's about two countries. Okay, that is why Canada came in, Switzerland came in to mediate in the process. Okay, but we are talking this because the United Nations has to play more role. Okay, the Cameroonian government has firmly rejected any international interference, framing the crisis as purely internal matter, which is not, because they want the international community to think that they can resolve the problem, whereas they cannot resolve the problem. That's why the Grand National Dialogue failed. Okay, the people, the CPGM members who attended the Grand National Dialogue did all what they can to make it show as if it's real. But think of it, how many years has gone by since the Grand National Dialogue failed? All the proposal of special status and the proposal of how they'll have to, those projects that they were saying, the Limbe Deep Sea Port and so on and so forth. So many projects, but none of them have come to pass, right? The House of Chiefs and the Norwest South House that they just created is not the same House of Chiefs that we had. Everything is just trying to fool the international community that there is something going on, which they know that is not. Okay. On the African continent now, okay, what is going on with African Union? That has been showing so much restraint. They have offered just generalized calls for peace without any direct involvement. Okay, we cannot call on foreign countries to intervene in Africa when the African Union does not. Okay, sometimes you can understand why the the forming of the Sahel countries, okay, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger bloc, is due to the lukewarmness of the African Union. Okay, we don't know why this silence, but this silence might stem from a broader policy of non-interference in member states' internal affairs, which is not fair. There has to be action taken, particularly when the conflict involves two countries. Okay, we can say, affirmatively that the Cameroon government has been playing a lot of politics to block any discussion that can lead to the resolve of this problem. Okay, think of it. The humanitarian agencies have made it clear, Amnesty International, all this, that this is an international something that needs to be resolved. Okay, not any kind of crisis. This is a major crisis. Many people are being killed every day. The soldiers are being killed on both sides. There is casualties on both sides. Civilian sufferings of civilian. What kind of action is the international community taking? Okay, that is what we are going to be talking today, to make sure that we analyze this issue. Okay, and yeah, so take a listen to this and we'll come back. Okay.
Around 1.9 million people, about half of whom were children, are estimated to be in need, which is an increase of 80% compared to 2018 and an almost 15-fold increase since 2017. What began as a political crisis in the northwest and southwest regions is now a quickly deteriorating humanitarian emergency. 3 years of violence and instability in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon have left more than 855,000 children out of school. A very real fear of violence also keeps parents from sending their children to school and teachers and staff from reporting to work.
When armed groups like these kidnap students on the way to school, that's absolutely horrific and must be condemned.
Yeah, that was an excerpt of what the United Nations was trying to discuss about the casualties, the humanitarian need of the ongoing conflict, and we are hoping that there will be some major discussions going on about that. Okay, let me get to my talking point before we as we continue the show. Okay. Yep. Yeah, so tonight we turn our attention to a question that continues to haunt the heart and minds of many Cameroonians, especially those in the Ambazonian region of the country who have lived through nearly a decade of conflict, displacement, and fear. The people of southern Cameroon, Ambazonia. The question is simply but heavy: why hasn't the international community, especially the United Nations, step in to intervene in the Ambazonian conflict. This is not just a rhetorical question, it is one rooted in the real suffering of people. Civilian trapped in crossfire, villages burned, schools closed for years, and thousands forced to flee their homes. With all this suffering, it seems logical to ask, where is the United Nations? Where is the African Union? Where are the so-called friends of Cameroon? And perhaps more importantly, why is nothing significant being done to end this crisis? Let's be clear, this conflict didn't start out of nowhere. The crisis in Cameroon, between Cameroon and the Ambazonian people began as a peaceful protest where teachers and lawyers were asking for fair treatment or a return to the federal system. But as time goes on, the Cameroon government used but heavy-handed. Okay, the Cameroon government responded with force rather than dialogue. Things escalated when this happened. Today we find ourselves in what we can only be described as an armed conflict and a full-fledged war, with an ever-growing list of casualties, human rights violations, and social breakdown. To answer that, we must, the question is, where is the United Nations? So to answer that, we must first understand how the United Nations works. The United Nations is not a global peace force. Contrary to popular belief, it cannot just invade or intervene in a country without permission. For the United Nations to deploy peacekeepers or establish a political mission, it usually requires the consent of the host government or mandate on the United Nations Security Council. Okay, and we have seen some signs of some United Nations members who came in to, okay, let me play some of the video. You see some of the United Nations members.
Yes, welcome to Ngoketunja. Welcome to Ngoketunja. Yes. Now the questions I have to ask you people, please, if you give me the chance to ask you the questions. Yeah, this is the United Nations. Sir, please, can I ask you questions, please? Yes, go ahead. Yeah, okay. This is Ngoketunja, I hope you know. Yes. Yeah, thank you. So people have been complaining that we here in Ngoketunja, we disturb you people a lot. Is that true?
Not that we know. So we have come here from Bamenda to Kumbo,
yes,
and back to see if everything is okay. To see if medical aid can go to Kumbo.
Yes.
To Kumbo, to the hospital.
Okay.
So now we're coming back from Kumbo to Bamenda and see if everything is fine.
Okay, now since you say everything is fine, from you to live from Bamenda to Kumbu, do you people feel any difficulties on the way?
We have had a few difficulties with the military, and that's on their side.
Okay, you have difficulties only through the militaries.
That's the only problem we have.
So see, we they call us the separatist fighters, but we are freedom fighters. Yes. We are fighting for our freedom.
I know.
Yes, thank you very much. Please let me ask you once more, please. As you're going like this, I hope people you know very well what has been going on in this place.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So the truth is that they are killing us. They are killing us seriously.
So as you can see in the audio, in the video, the United Nations, some of the United Nations members who came to Ambazonia are being questioned by the restoration fighters who are on the way, But this is just an example, one example of that meeting where the United Nations came to observe what's going on, okay? But this is about 3 years ago. But why I bring this is just to tell you that the United Nations know that there's a major crisis going on. But the reaction okay, is has been not so tough to the Cameroon government. Okay, that's why sometimes we are trying to differ with their reaction towards that. So, okay, let me continue with my talking point. In Cameroon's case, the government has consistently rejected the idea that there is a crisis requiring international intervention. It insists that what's happening in the Anglophone region, as they call it, is an internal matter, a security issue that it can handle on its own. And as long as Yaoundé maintains that position, the UN is restricted in what it can do. Then there is the issue of international politics. Cameroon is not a smaller player on the global stage. It holds geopolitical importance in Central Africa. It is a security partner in the fight against Boko Haram, and more importantly, it has been long-standing diplomatic and economic ties with the powerful countries like France. France, in particular, has been accused, both openly and behind closed doors, of protecting the Biya regime at the United Nations Security Council. In question, in short, some argue that France has lobbied against strong international action that could threaten the current regime's hold on power, fearing instability that could spread to neighboring countries or affect French business interests. Let's not forget that the UN is not just made up of neutral observers. It is a political body influenced by the strategic interests of its most powerful member states. So when we see silence or inaction, it may not be because the situation isn't serious. It is often because taking action will disturb delicate political alliances. Okay, now let's shift our focus to the African Union. Many people expected the UN, the AU to be more responsive, more connected to the pain of Africans, more proactive in handling this crisis. But what we have seen, a few vague statements here and there calling for dialogue, but no concrete steps, no peace mission, no mediation effort with real teeth. Why? One reason is that the AU, much like a UN, follows a policy of non-interference in internal affairs of member states. There's also a deep fear if the AU supports or even acknowledges a separatist movement like Ambazonia, it might open the door to similar claims in other countries, from Biafra in Nigeria to Somaliland in the Horn of Africa to many unresolved crises. Yeah, so now then look at, so here we are, the military of Cameroon continue to occupy the land of Ambazonia. The people of Ambazonia continue to suffer. The Cameroonian government continues to deny the scale of the problem. The international community, it seems, is either unwilling or unable to take meaningful action. Okay? This leads us to a critical question. Is this silence part of a strategy, or is it simply neglect? An unwillingness to deal with the complicated crisis in a relatively small, relatively quiet part of the world? If you're watching this and you're angry, you are not alone. But it's important to turn that anger into awareness and awareness into action. Okay, we must take action, because together we can do something to save the people of Ambazonia. Until the world listen, we'll keep asking the hard questions. Okay? I am Fritz Misodi, and this has been your voice for the truth of Ambazonia crisis. I'm gonna play some video about this the United Nations, what happened to them, and what discussion they had. Okay, we've seen many discussions that they have had, that the United Nations have had, condemning the Cameroon government of the atrocities and all those condemnation. Okay, I'm gonna yeah, so let me I want to play that
social challenges, particularly in Cameroon, on which I will focus my remarks. The security and humanitarian conditions in Cameroon's northwest and southwest regions have significantly deteriorated since the last UNOCA briefing to the Security Council in June. Violence continues to escalate, obstructing vital humanitarian aid delivery to over 430,000 IDPs and blocking health and education services to rural children. Mr. President, October was the most violent month on record in Cameroon in recent years, and judging from anecdotal reports, we fear that November will surpass October as the bloodiest month on record. We don't want to see that horrible trend continue again this month in December. The violence must stop now. Violence between government and Anglophone separatists has resulted in killings and abductions of civilians, including a U.S. missionary, who was killed on October 30th. Faced with mounting insecurity, tens of thousands of Cameroonians have fled to neighboring Nigeria, as we've heard, while hundreds of thousands have been internally displaced and need humanitarian assistance. The stakes in Cameroon are too high for this crisis to continue unaddressed. Cameroon remains an essential security partner in the fight against Boko Haram and the Islamic State in West Africa, including as a member of the multinational Joint Task Force. The continuing crisis threatens to detract from our mutual security objectives in the Lake Chad Basin. Mr. President, the United States calls for an immediate and broad-based reconciliatory dialogue without preconditions between the government of Cameroon and separatists in the northwest and southwest regions. We urge all sides to forswear violence, to restore peace, and to resolve their grievances through political dialogue. We note that in his inaugural address on November 6th, President Biya expressed confidence that, quote, there is an honorable way out in everyone's interest, end quote. We encourage President Biya to make good on his commitment to accelerate the decentralization process and adopt the recommendations of the Cameroonian Commission on Bilingualism and Multiculturalism. The creation of a government-led Humanitarian Assistance Coordination Center is a promising development. However, the government has done little to address concerns over its own lack of respect for humanitarian principles of neutrality and impartiality, and the guarantees of unhindered access to conflict-affected populations. We urge the government of Cameroon to prioritize respect for humanitarian principles and to ensure unobstructed access for UN agencies and humanitarian NGOs assisting conflict-affected populations. Mr. President, the United States believes that UNOCA, through the good offices of Special Representative Fall, could provide technical assistance and mediation support to facilitate a broad-based reconciliatory dialogue.
yeah, so that was the United States in the United Nations trying to discuss the issue, making the Cameroon government to understand that they have to take action. Okay, but since then nothing has happened. The Cameroon government remains silent. They keep using their military to mistreat the people of southern Cameroon. They don't regard the international human rights law. They don't regard international human rights law of war, international law of war, where civilians should be kept out of anything that has to do with war. Okay, you don't malhandle civilians, you don't mistreat civilians during wartime, and that is what the Cameroon military are doing in our areas. They will arrest people, ask them for ransom, ask them for money. This is what they're doing: torture, robbery, burglary, all sort of criminal activities is going on there by this military occupying the land of southern Cameroon. Okay, so it's just the same thing every time. So I hope the other communities can learn from this. You know, yeah. This is the United Kingdom at the United Nations too.
I'd like to focus now on a country of particular concern in the region, and that's Cameroon. I should start by saying that the United Kingdom recognises the many positive contributions Cameroon is making to stability in the region, including their continued commitment to the fight against Boko Haram and the sanctuary that Cameroon offers to refugees from Nigeria and the Central African Republic. However, we are concerned by the reality of the rapidly deteriorating security and humanitarian situation in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. In particular, we are concerned about high levels of displacement and take very seriously Rina Galani's warning that this is now one of the fastest growing displacement crises in Africa, and reports of human rights violations and abuses perpetrated by armed separatist groups and government forces, including extrajudicial killings, other killings, abductions, restrictions of movements, and access to health and education restrictions as described in the Secretary-General's report. We must always be alert, colleagues, to the risk that the situation escalates, affecting the broader peace and stability of the Central Africa region. We have already seen over 30,000 Cameroonians flee into Nigeria. If grievances are not addressed, tensions are likely to increase further. Mr. President, these concerns are not new. I raised them in the Council's discussion in March, as did others. Unfortunately, we have not seen the action needed to address the situation, and since March it has deteriorated further. We welcome President Biya's recent pledge to address the situation, but words alone will not improve things. We strongly urge the government of Cameroon to take urgent action, including by actively addressing the situation through inclusive dialogue with the Anglophone leadership to address the underlying issues, undertaking confidence-building measures in order to diffuse tensions and build conditions for dialogue. This includes the release of political detainees and implementing the government's own commitments on decentralisation and the recommendations of the Commission on bilingualism, allowing full humanitarian access and access to human rights monitors to all parts of the country. And I would also hope and expect that our own SRSG would have access wherever he wanted to go, and ensuring accountability for all of those responsible for human rights violations and abuses. And clearly, Mr. President, we also call on the armed groups involved to cease their attacks on civilians, allow full humanitarian access and access to human rights monitors, and to engage with the government on these issues. The UK, for its part, is committed to supporting Cameroon, and I'm...
So that was Britain in the United Nations also giving their own opinion about what they see the crisis is. Okay, we all know the British was supposed to be part and parcel of this war trying to resolve the problem. Okay, but because of the pressure of France, Britain cannot do anything. Okay, they cannot do anything. Listen to Sweden.
Preventive diplomacy. The deteriorating situation in Cameroon must be addressed. We are deeply concerned over the acute humanitarian situation as described today and massive displacement caused by the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. Continued disturbing reports of grave violence, including extrajudicial killings, abductions, and restrictions of movement, must be investigated, and accountability for all human rights violations and abuses ensured. A continued crisis risks having serious regional implications, including on the fight against terrorism in the Lake Chad Basin and on efforts to bring peace to the Central African Republic. So there is, as we've heard today, the fastest growing displacement situation that represents a clear threat to international peace and security. To change this trajectory, the post-electoral period should offer a window of opportunity. So we urge all parties to immediately end the violence, and we call on the government to urgently take concrete steps to build genuine trust and confidence, as underlined by SRSD FAL this morning. This includes engaging in an inclusive, mediated dialogue with communities in the English-speaking region, as well as to release political detainees. Safe and unhindered humanitarian access must always be ensured in accordance with humanitarian principles. Access should also be provided to human rights monitors and to the media to help establish the facts. United international engagement is needed to assist Cameroon to manage the crisis, including to build trust.
We are not citizens of La République du Cameroon. We have never been citizens of La République du Cameroon. Our ancestor Molanjo Litumbe reminded us that Jumba no be married. Our ancestor Dr. Oendele reminded us to never vote for death in La République du Cameroon.
Will your vote bring back Grandma Happy? Will your vote bring back baby Endale? Will your vote bring back baby Martha? Will your vote bring back the children in Labu? Will your vote bring back the children of St. Francisco Likumba?
What are you voting?
History has not forgotten that Buea was the headquarters of West Cameroon. History has not forgotten that Buea was the capital of southern Cameroon. And history has not forgotten that Buea was once the capital of German Cameroon. That is why I say that Buea is a historic.
Thank you. So we are bringing up some points that that we raise when it comes to this. Okay, we saw major countries that were supported during their crisis by the UN peacekeeping force. Okay, we saw that in Sierra Leone, Rwanda. We saw that in Democratic Republic of Congo, South Sudan, okay, Haiti, all these countries. They, we saw them when they were in their worsening situation of humanitarian crisis. The United Nations was there, sent peacekeepers. Okay, in the case of Ambazonia, over 6,000 or more people have been displaced. Thousands and thousands people have been killed, and more than 700,000 displaced due to the conflict. But what is going on when you see all this happening without any international intervention? The killing, the torture, the arbitrary arrest, okay, and the destruction of property. The UN intervention is necessary to coordinate this humanitarian aid and prevent further mass suffering. Okay, that's why we are saying that the United Nations should step in, because if we want to wait for African Union, it will take forever, because African Union don't attack what they call as friends of African Union or member state, sovereign member state. So if a country is attacking another one, that that through independence, these people came together to live as equal status. It wasn't that one country will be manipulating the other. Okay, yeah, all the numerous human rights violations report from Amnesty International, from Human Rights Watch, and the UN itself document all these war crimes. The extrajudicial killings by the military, burning of villages by the military, school massacres by the military, and collective punishment of what they call kale kale. They will go and be arresting people, collect their monies. That is what's going on. So there is a need, ample need, of humanitarian support. Okay. Then the other point is the regional instability too. We understand because of the crisis, it has caused a lot of regional instability. Okay, most of the countries that rely on Cameroon, like Chad, those are inland countries. Niger, Chad, they're all inland countries, but they use the port of Cameroon to deliver their goods, to deliver their stuff. So it's tough for them now when Cameroon is in crisis and nobody wanna even stay, Yeah. So it's just terrible. The right to self-determination is what we, the Southern Cameroon, are using to make sure that we overcome this marginalization that has taken our people for more than 60 years. Okay, the UN has a long complaint. Okay, the UN has long complained about Cameroon's exaction, right? But they do nothing because they only complain and it ends there. Okay, you saw some some UN observers, peacekeeping observers mission there. They came for one time and they left. They never stayed. Okay, for many years that we are expecting the United Nations to come and intervene. Yet there is nothing in sight. So hopefully we're gonna see some movement, some reaction towards that direction. Okay, because we are seeing nothing going on, nothing happening. It's not really fair for us. Dr. Masanga has been one of those people who have really pushed hard. Okay, Dr. Masanga has pushed hard and filed complaint about the BR regime at the ICC. So there might be a possible arrest, who knows, but due to this infrastructure, it's just terrible. Okay, we don't want to get involved with all that. So thank you. We have seen different all the things that are happening. From this photo, you can tell that the photo is asking, where is the United Nations? Where? So, okay, that's it. Okay. Thank you for watching. Make sure you share. Make sure you share. Thank you very much. God bless you. God bless the people of Southern Cameroon, Ambazonia. Thank you. Okay.